Hello friends and welcome to Figure Study, where we're looking at another Nemesis Prime. This time it is the Magic Square Light of Freedom, whatever this version is called. It's the Nemesis coloration. I did have the original Light of Freedom figure for a little bit, but then I saw the Nemesis color scheme and was like, no, I want to get that instead. So the Light of Freedom figure is really great all on its own. In this particular color scheme, it is really nice. And it's basically just a masterpiece Optimus Prime. This thing looks very Optimus Prime. It's just a box cab with that telltale stripe in the grill, and it's just super duper Optimus Prime. You can't look at this and not think of Optimus Prime if you're familiar with Transformers. I do kind of prefer how clean this truck mode looks compared to some of the other truck modes I've seen, though it is a bit weirdly proportioned here. I mean, I like it. Personally, I do kind of prefer this, but I also know that realistically speaking, this back section is kind of thick, and it should probably be more down here to be more or less properly proportioned for an actual truck. But I like it being like this little chubby chunk monster truck. And the detailing is fantastic. From here, there's not a lot to it in terms of paint and stuff, but it looks really nice. It's mostly black with some silver, some chrome, and then a little bit of that turquoise, both in translucent plastic and in the paint up here, and then those nice blood red windows. It does include alternate window panes. There are clean ones, and then there are these which are damaged. I went with the damaged ones because I figure he's a bad guy. He's going to have gotten into some scraps. Just imagine these without the bullet holes and cracks and whatnot, just like this all the way around. Just that nice blood red plastic without any intentional imperfections, and you get an idea for what those windows would look like. Yeah, the coloring on this is great. I've always liked the coloring of Nemesis Prime. The molding is great all the way around. The seams are actually pretty nicely covered for the most part. Around the back, it does start to look a bit like feet hanging out there, but overall, aside from these just kind of sticking out a little bit, it's not that bad. It kind of covers it up reasonably well. And this, if you know what you're looking for, does look like robot shins and a robot pelvis, but it's, for the most part, fairly clean. And on the underside, it's also fairly clean-ish. Though it is kind of funny that his matrix is just right there. I also appreciate the fact that even though it's a bit superfluous, and for part of the transformation, I kind of wish that they hadn't done this, I do appreciate the fact that they gave him doors that can actually open. There's nothing in there, but you can open the doors for photos, for kind of an effect or something. They're just on ball joints though, so you can kind of disconnect them and it looks weird. But yeah, that's about all I can say about the vehicle mode. Like I said, it's pretty much typical Optimus Prime shape with typical Nemesis Prime colors. And that's just fine with me. So here he is with a standard-ish size Transformers Deluxe. Hopefully I'll be able to color balance this well enough that it doesn't look totally blown out. I had to mess with the values in the camera a bit because this guy is so dark. And here he is with the duck tank. Don't worry, I will have more size comparisons when we get to the robot mode, but first we've got to get to the robot mode. And as with the Generation Toy Nemesis Prime that I did recently, I hope you all will forgive me if this gets a little clunky because I have not transformed this guy that often, but it is a pretty sensible transformation. Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, I'm done. I'm tired. There we have the Nemesis version of Magic Square's Light of Freedom in his robot mode, and this is a very nice looking Nemesis Prime. I feel like, okay, yes, proportionally he's not perfect. His torso's a little bit squunched down, a little bit compact, but overall I think this guy looks fantastic. Just proportionally. Colors-wise, he's also amazing. Like that black everywhere, very, very dark and nice, but then all these little accents all over the figure that really set it off helps so much, like the shin plates, silver detailing on the inside of the legs, the silver thighs, the silver waist section and the turquoise button things in the front, the metallic-y turquoise in the forearms. This is all the same as the truck, obviously. And of course the Telltale Optimus Prime midsection with those silver lines. And he's got the shoulder smokestacks, and he's got the proper Optimus Prime head, and it's just a good time. I love this color scheme so much. The figure on its own was really, really good, but in this color scheme, the deep blacks, the nice shiny silvers, that extremely deep red, that's the stuff. Let's get in close on the details. He does have these little red bits that were brake lights, I guess, for the back of the truck, are now his toes. There's some of that nice silver and gunmetal kind of, well, silver and gray, gunmetal and gray, whatever. Nice painted detailing in there. Also some nice sculpting on the thighs. And then, of course, he's got his Optimus Prime diaper, which is, it does kind of stick out a bit far. Like, this kind of needs to shift forward, but it doesn't have the jointage for that. Maybe kind of, if we get all of this stuff out of the way to look underneath here, there's nothing for, that it could shift forward at. I do kind of wish that these legs could just come forward a little bit, or if this could push back a little bit. But when you're looking at them from the front, you don't even notice it. It's just when you're looking at them from the side, it seems a little bit weird. There is some nice kind of technical detail behind the translucent bits in the skirt flaps, we'll say. And then, of course, that grille for the truck, which I really like how in the transformation, the grille for the truck becomes the grille for the chest. That's really cool. And you do get a little bit of that kind of teal-ish color in translucent plastic in the chest. And yes, he is a Prime of a sort. So he does get a matrix of a sort that does not want to come out. But there we go. So you can see he has a little bit of molded detail in the chrome back behind the matrix. And the matrix itself is similar but different from the standard matrix shape. I feel like these nubbins shouldn't be here, and it should probably be more around like this, but this is how it goes in the robot mode. But it is a good looking evilish matrix with the copper and red instead of the gold and blue. And when you cover it up, you can still kind of see it, but it is obscured by the glass a little bit. I particularly like how this looks with the damaged glass panes in there. Like I said, he's a bad guy, so I expect him to get into some scuffs and scrapes. And then for the arms, it is a standard kind of Optimus Prime forearm with the triangle and the lines, though he does have a little bit of additional detail that is painted on the inside of the forearms. You get some nice double jointed elbows, which I like because the lower joint on the elbows looks much more natural to me than the that weird kind of higher joint. This makes his arm look much stumpier. This looks much, much better to me. So while I appreciate there being two joints for elbows, I prefer to use the lower joint just because I think it looks normal. Nice chrome smokestacks that contrast really nicely with that black. And finally, we have the head, where I swapped in the new head and the screw kind of got stuck and started to strip. So we're just kind of stuck with the way this is not quite sitting flush. That's on me, not so much the toy. But yeah, he comes with the default Prime head, which has that kind of baseball cap forehead jutting out. I wanted to swap it for the flat one because, he's a Nemesis. I feel like it should be a little bit different than the more typical G1 Prime, because I know G1 Prime did have that weird baseball hat thing. And that is an Optimus Prime Optimus Prime head. I mean, what can you say? This is Optimus Prime, just in black and silver and red rather than blue and silver and lighter blue. But yes, it is a very, very good looking Optimus Prime figure, even if you don't consider the evil colors. But with the evil colors, it's also very, very cool. Very poseable. The transformation, again, it's like I haven't done it in a while, but it's still there. I was still able to do it without having to look up videos or anything like that. So it does make sense. It's just that I haven't transformed this guy back and forth since I first got him. But this is a very, very cool figure that looks fantastic and is built quite well and is just neat. I like him very much. Anyway, size comparison time. Here he is with a more or less standard size Transformers Deluxe. Here he is with an official Masterpiece scale Carbot, in this case G2 Sideswipe. Here he is with Masterpiece Soundwave, who, as I mentioned in the previous Nemesis Prime video, is ever so slightly shorter than a regular Masterpiece Prime, so this checks out. Here he is with that very recently covered and often mentioned in this video Generation Toy Nemesis version of OpX, or IDW Prime. And I like how they're both Nemesis Primes, they're both very similar color schemes with the black and the silver and the blood red, and all of those are almost exactly the same across the board. Except the Magic Square version has much more of a turquoisey, greeny color here, whereas the OpX Nemesis version has much more of a sky blue going. And finally, here he is with the Duck Tank. Alrighty, I do believe that is going to do it for the Magic Square Light of Freedom Nemesis variant, whatever this thing is called. And this is an excellent Masterpiece-ish Optimus Prime. Very affordable too for what it is, or at least it was when I got it. I don't know if that price has changed at all. Also worth noting, I picked this up from TF Direct pretty much around the beginning of this year, like I think back in January, so you might not have the same luck I did with getting this guy. Still worth looking into because, again, very, very cool figure. But anyway, that is going to do it. I've rambled on long enough. So, what do you all think of the Magic Square Light of Freedom figure? Whether it's this Nemesis version or the original version in more Optimus Prime colors or the more metallic version. I think they also did a Shattered Glass version and either did or will be doing a sort of desaturated version for when Optimus Prime died on the operating table, because that's not morbid. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.